Good afternoon. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. What an exciting night it was in the NBA last night. Wow, the play-in tournament off to a rousing start. We will break down everything that happened in the association and also preview tonight's games as well. Some Major League Baseball discussion, of course, recapping everything that happened in baseball, getting ready for another golf tournament, the RBC Heritage coming up this weekend. And we've got previews of it all here on the show today. Brady Cannon will join us, in fact, to preview that upcoming golf tournament at 12:22 Eastern. But first, we've got Daniel Collins in the house for the latest in the NBA and some baseball as well. Naturally, we'll break down everything happening in the world of prediction markets and sports betting with Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report. And then our resident experts on streaming and ratings, it's Simon Applebaum from the podcast Tomorrow Will Be Televised to tell us how many folks were watching the Masters this past weekend. Well, last night, there were technical difficulties at the end of the Hornets Heat game. In case you were watching that live on Amazon Prime, all of a sudden, there were difficulties that led to it going basically dark for a few minutes. It was probably one of the most exciting games of the NBA this season, but luckily they were able to get it back on at the very end. The Hornets beat the Heat 127 to 126. The final in overtime. LaMelo Ball with the game winner as time expired. The Heat had a shot to tie it at the end, but Miles Bridges blocked Davion Mitchell's game-winning layup. Also in this game, Bam Adebayo was injured, and it looked like LaMelo Ball may have raised his leg, and Adebayo fell. We'll have a little bit more on that later in the game, but Ball had 30 points yesterday. The Hornets now with an opportunity at least to get a shot at the NBA playoffs, and the Miami Heat going home. Here are Charles Lee and Eric Spoelstra on both outcomes.
Was this game not a total embodiment of this team and what it's been this season?
Definitely. It just shows the character of the team. I think at the end of the day, execution is not always going to be perfect, but I think that these guys find a way to stick with it and not give in to sometimes when things aren't going well or not going your way. I think that's where I've seen the most growth and maturity from our group is just finding a way to respond. And, I thought that our execution at times was good. At times it was not good, but when it mattered, I thought we executed our side out of bounds really well. And then that winning effort and competitiveness and togetherness to come up with a big-time block at the end of the game just shows kind of who we are.
The experience is what the play-in, has been for us. Every game we've played, except for one of them, has just been down to the wire. It is harrowing. You have no idea what's going to happen. We just could not get a stop, down the stretch anytime we had a lead. We had opportunities to get, a stop down in regulation in the last three possessions, and we weren't able to get the stop, there at the end.
All right, so the Miami Heat will look toward the offseason. Meanwhile, the Phoenix Suns, what happened to them last night? They lost to the Portland Trailblazers as 3.5-point favorites, 2.5 in some spots. Portland wins 114 to 110. Denny Advija had 41 points for Portland. He was the big scorer there, and they were down 11 and came all the way back to win. But naturally, Thiago Splitter also with a huge, huge performance down the stretch. Didn't want to make it about himself, just about the team.
I don't want to talk about myself, just the group. I think, it's culmination of a tough year, but this group is very resilient. I think we showed that in the fourth quarter, just believing in ourselves and getting it done. I'm happy for them. They went through a lot throughout the season, and, being in the playoffs, it's a great accomplishment for this group.
How do you get these guys ready to go for, a Friday matchup with everything on the line?
Yeah, we addressed it right away. Just, the goal is get in. Just get in any way possible. It's been our goal for a while, so we got to move on. We got to move on. It sucks. These are hard to take, but there's stuff to learn in here that we got to learn fast and do everything we can to get ready for Friday night. Tomorrow we'll be taking care of your body, extended minutes, take care of the body. We'll watch this film. Again, we can always learn from game 83. It doesn't matter. So learn from the film, get your body right, get your mind right, watch the game tomorrow night, be ready to go the next day.
Good news for Portland, seemingly at least a better season than most people expected. Meanwhile, the NFL draft is next week. Could we see a big player moved ahead of the draft? Is certainly possible. The Giants and star Dexter Lawrence on the defensive side have been talking about a big contract extension, can't reach one, And so there's a chance, at least, that you could see potentially Lawrence go to another team ahead of the NFL draft. He's one of the big impact players on the Giants side of the defense, but as of right now, no contract extension there. Meanwhile, in college sports, Louisiana Tech's football team is expected to pay a record exit fee to leave Conference USA and join the Sun Belt Conference. That amount could be $8 million more than UTEP paid to leave Conference USA to join the Mountain West. Louisiana Tech and the Sun Belt could start as soon as 2026, and Conference USA certainly is trying to avoid losing multiple schools at once. Big story from Major League Baseball this morning. It appears as though another contract extension has been awarded to a young player. This time it's Kevin McGonigal of the Detroit Tigers. 8 years, $150 million, according to ESPN. McGonigal, one of the nice young stars in baseball, and off to a good start for Detroit. Meanwhile, a bad start for the Houston Astros finally comes to a close yesterday. They had lost 8 straight games until barely beating the Rockies yesterday, 7-6. Christian Walker went 3 for 4 with a home run. So good news for the Astros, their losing streak is over. But bad news for the Mets, they lost again. 7 in a row after losing 2-1 to the Dodgers. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, 7 2/3, 7 strikeouts. He did not factor into the decision. Things seemingly getting desperate for the offense, although Francisco Lindor had his best offensive game of the season. He said it's time to get a win.
Desperation level right now to get a win.
The desperation level, I mean, the urgency level, it's really high. I don't think no one here is desperate, but we understand that we have to win. It's a must win. We're not going to sit here and just say, we'll get them, we'll get them, we'll get them. You know, it's everybody here has a sense of urgency, and we are trying to win. You know, it was just, it's just a matter of time, and we have to get it done. You know, we're still in the middle of April, and we have an opportunity to finish the month in a positive side. So everyone here understands that the task is winning, and we're all going for it.
Mets are having a hard time scoring. So are the Cincinnati Reds, but they just keep winning. They beat the Giants yesterday 2-1, so they win as slight home favorites. Brady Singer, 6 innings pitched, just 1 earned run. Sal Stewart, Spencer Steer had solo home runs in that game, and the Tigers defeated the Royals by a final score of 2-1. The Tigers win as home favorites. They got a good start from Framber Valdez. And also in that one, Kenley Jansen picked up career save number 479 in the Tigers win. Meanwhile, the Brewers beat the Blue Jays. The Brewers, who are they? Blue Jays beat the Brewers 9-7 in 10 innings. Jacob Mizorowski pitched in this one. He struck out 5 and 5 1/3. The Blue Jays end up winning this one late. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. had a couple of hits. Shane McClanahan back on the mound this season for the first time since 2023, and he picks up his first win since that year. Tampa Bay defeats Chicago 8-5 as McClanahan struck out 4 over 5 innings pitched. The Cubs beat the Phillies 10-4. Nico Horner with a couple of hits, and Alex Bregman had 3 as well. The Angels, man, they stuck it to Ryan Weathers and the Yankees yesterday. 7-1. The Angels went back-to-back home runs in the first inning. Don't look now, but Mike Trout appears to be all the way back. Couple of home runs 2 nights ago, a home run again yesterday, but the back-to-back was Trout, Joe Adell, and Jorge Soler in last night's game, and the Diamondbacks beat the Orioles 4-3. They evened up their series as Gerardo Perdomo had 3 hits in that game as well. All right, Stanley Cup playoffs begin next week. We got everything pretty much locked up now. Eastern Conference is set. The Bruins 4-0 over the Devils. Eastern Conference playoffs, we got Hurricanes, Senators, Sabres, Bruins, Lightning, Canadiens, and Penguins, Flyers. We'll be back next. Daniel Collins joins us to preview tonight's NBA play-in game. For those people who use YouTube, there's a new feature that is powered by AI. And what is this exactly, Simon?
So let's say you're watching Yankees highlights, and you can say, YouTube, when is the next game at Yankee Stadium? You see that information on the screen. How much is the cost? What seats are available? You see that information on the screen. All right, call the Yankee Stadium box office. I want to make a reservation for 2 tickets.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
The process is closed. Let's call it out for what it is, right? And is it their fault? You could, they've been just besieged at Embiid, but it just continues, Kevin, right? As soon as he's like, don't worry about my health, and then here we are, right? I would have traded him a couple of years ago. I would have gotten ahead of the curve, Kevin.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
At the end of the day, LeBron's going to have to put that team on his back. Can he do it? I don't know if he could do it for a 7-game series. Can he give you like 2, oh my goodness, LeBron at 31? Yeah, I think he can give you a couple of those games. But it's about the other guys that have to step up.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You build teams in the second, third, and fourth round, right, Donnie? Yeah. That's where you build. That's where you get the depth. That's where you build the team. So teams looking for draft capital very much could be alive and well in this draft coming up because there's just nobody to mortgage the future for because you need your franchise guy. They're just not in this draft.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. We got Daniel Collins in the house, Sweatpants Jesus, to break down the NBA games last night and also the games ahead today as he joins us now here exclusively on NewsWire. So, Dan, great to catch up with you again. Man, we got some fantastic games in the NBA yesterday. I mean, so good to the fact that I was mad to see technical difficulties. And I would ask you this. Let's start there. When was the last time there was ever technical difficulties in an NBA game, let alone an NBA game where the magnitude was right there at the end? Wow, that was a shocker.
I was watching the game and I was so pissed because I thought that it was my connection that was messing up. And I was like, no, it's the last minute of overtime. There's so much going on right now. But actually, it came out today, obviously, that a lot of people dealt with that. It was an Amazon Prime issue, which Amazon Prime coverage of the NBA all season has been fantastic. But I'm sure somebody was running around like crazy last night. But man, as you said, Craig, just incredible. Cue the Martin Scorsese gif. I mean, it was absolute cinema last night in the NBA play-in games. Both games delivered. Obviously, the first one with the Heat and the Hornets was absolutely spectacular. As a kind of a guy who's followed this Hornets team all season, I was really hoping that they weren't going to throw that game away late, especially after they got the lead in overtime. But just an incredible start. And then the game out in the desert to finish it off last night, too. I've been a huge Portland Trailblazers guy all season long, following Denny Advia and his rise. And he put on a performance last night. 40 points, 12 assists, 7 rebounds, flirted with a triple-double, was unstoppable last night. I mean, Jalen Green was fantastic. Devin Booker kind of faltered a little bit down the stretch dealing with foul trouble, but just 2 unbelievable games to start off the play-in. And I know Adam Silver gets a lot of slack with the way that he runs the National Basketball Association, but he had to be sitting there last night watching these games, just crossing his arms and just going, yeah, this feels really good. So as an NBA fan, it was incredible to watch last night. We got fantastic performances left, right, and center. And it was just awesome to watch.
Yeah, it definitely was. So let's give everyone an update as to what is going on now. So Portland wins that game, and so they've secured the 7th seed. Charlotte will play the loser of Orlando, Philadelphia. They play tonight for the 8th seed. Phoenix, unfortunately for them, they lost, and they've got to win now to get in. They'll play the winner of Golden State and the Clippers tonight for the 8th seed. But before we get to the future, let's go to the past. Last night's game, as you mentioned, I mean, this was probably the best play-in game, tournament game, I'm going to guess, since they started doing this, because as you mentioned, the drama was there. The theater was there. I mean, to have Bam Adebayo go out of this game and the Heat to still be in it was incredible. Tyler Hero taking over the game for Miami. LaMelo Ball taking over the game for Charlotte. And so we've got like a two-part series here, honestly, because Charlotte wins, and we'll get to the Heat in their future in a minute. But will they even have LaMelo Ball for the next game after what happened on the court with Bam Adebayo? A lot to unpack with this game last night.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we'll see what the league ends up doing with the situation with what happened with Bam Adebayo with that trip, and obviously, it was unfortunate for him that he wasn't able to finish that game dealing with that lower back injury after that play. But just to remove that from the conversation, I mean, just the shot making we saw last night was just absolutely unbelievable. Kobe White obviously knocking down that dagger, who was fantastic for them last night. He's been a great addition to that team down the stretch here since coming over from the Chicago Bulls. And then, as you mentioned, Tyler Hero hitting that dagger three in the corner, and then the Hornets threw the ball away, and then Hero got fouled again. It looked like they were going to throw it all away, and all the conversations of, oh, this team is young and they're not going to be able to get the job done. And then obviously LaMelo came up in the clutch too and hit that shot at the end. I mean, it almost came down to the fact of Davion Mitchell, who was fantastic for the Heat as well, drove down the court, had a chance to hit a little layup at the buzzer, and Miles Bridges came in and blocked it off the backboard. So as you mentioned, as a fan of the league and as somebody who's followed this very closely and covered it over the last couple of years, especially with the play-in tournament being introduced, this was the best play-in tournament game I've seen. This is maybe even a top 10 NBA game over the last 5 or 6 seasons overall. Like, this was just an incredible basketball game, back and forth. The entire game never felt like it was something that every single possession mattered for these teams, obviously with, the elimination aspect of it. But guys making shots, guys just diving on the floor, the defensive prowess we saw, just everything top to bottom was fantastic watch. Again, unfortunate situation with Bam. We'll see how the league handles that with LaMelo Ball. I hope that the league doesn't suspend him for the last game. I think that would be a little bit harsh given the circumstances. I know that Heat fans probably feel a little differently, but I just hope that the full complement of the Charlotte Hornets gets to go out there. But if LaMelo does end up getting, not to say that might happen, but if he does end up not being able to play in that elimination game on Friday, I think the Hornets still have enough stuff. Kobe White showed what he can do coming off the bench. He's played starter minutes for the Bulls all season long before he came over as well. So I don't think it would be a massive loss, but obviously LaMelo is the leader of this team, so that would be huge for the Hornets. So, but again, I can't gloat and just watching this game last night was incredible cinema. And even waking up this morning, I was like, man, I got to watch 2 fantastic basketball games last night. I hope we get 2 fantastic ones once again tonight.
All right, so let's get to the West Coast game where the Suns led and then Portland came all the way back. And certainly, I mean, I really liked what I've seen with Portland. The narrative is that they're coming on too soon, or I guess a little bit early. I think most people think next season was the year that Portland really take the next step, but man, they've done it this year.
I've watched this team all season long. I was a big fan of them at the end of the season last year, even though they didn't end up making the playoffs at all. But they have all the pieces, and they got Dame Lillard in the offseason. Obviously, wasn't going to play at all this year, but when the Chauncey Billups situation happened and Tiago Splitter took over, I think everybody kind of punted on this team, kind of like you said, thinking that this was not going to be their year. They were going to just develop their players and kind of go for it next season. But Splitter's been absolutely fantastic. A lot of people don't know that Tiago Splitter had a lot of head coaching experience before he got this job when he was coaching in Europe, had a lot of success over there as well. So no big surprise. Obviously, the language barrier was a bit tough for him. If you follow the Blazers, you know that he had some issues when he first started with the team, but they bought into his system. Denny Advia talked about it in his press conference after the game as well, how much they play for him. They believe in what he does. He's a championship caliber player when he played. So that was on full display last night. I don't think that we should shy away from the fact that Tiago Splitter has done a fantastic job with this roster, obviously with the star power, what Denny can do, but all the role players, Drew Holiday with his experience, with what he's done with the Celtics in the years past and his championship pedigree as well. Shaedon Sharpe is coming back from injury. I thought he was good last night too. Jeremy Grant was fantastic. Hasn't played a game in April since 2021, Craig. Finally played a game in April, and it mattered last night, hitting some massive threes down the stretch there too. So again, just a wonderful game. Jalen Green should get flowers too. He was awesome for the Suns. He's been really good for that team as well. So I'm hoping, and I said this on our shows on the Betting News Network, that I hope that both of these teams make the playoffs. I really like the Suns. I think that they deserve to have a chance to go 7 games against, possibly whoever they're going to end up facing. But can't wait to see what the Blazers are going to do in the Spurs series in round 1 as well. It's going to be fun.
All right, Sweatpants Jesus. Thanks again for coming on. We'll catch you next week. for those people who use YouTube, there's a new feature that is powered by AI. And what is this exactly, Simon?
So let's say you're watching Yankees highlights, and you can say, YouTube, when is the next game at Yankee Stadium? You see that information on the screen. How much is the cost? What seats are available? You see that information on the screen. All right, call the Yankee Stadium box office. I want to make a reservation for 2 tickets.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
The process is closed. Let's call it out for this, right? And is it their fault? You could, they've been just besieged and Embiid, but it just continues, Kevin, right? As soon as he's like, don't worry about my health, and then here we are, right? I would have traded him a couple of years ago. I would have gotten ahead of the curve, Kevin.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
At the end of the day, LeBron's going to have to put that team on his back. Can he do it? I don't know if he could do it for a 7-game series. Can he give you like 2, oh my goodness, LeBron at 31? Yeah, I think he can give you a couple of those games. But it's about the other guys that have to step up.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You build teams in the second, third, and fourth round, right, Donnie? Yeah. That's where you build. That's where you get the depth. That's where you build the team. So teams looking for draft capital very much could be alive and well in this draft coming up because there's just nobody to mortgage the future for because you need your franchise guy. They're just not in this draft.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. The Masters choices from everybody picking last week seemingly was going against every single pick without Rory McIlroy in the field as the final group, as the winner, and yet we had the champion right in our backyard, so to speak, Brady. A green jacket 2 years in a row for Rory McIlroy. And, basically it's just so hard to repeat at the Masters. We just simply looked at that and said, okay, let's find somebody else to win. But it was apparent, I think, even very early on that he was going to be in the mix. It got dicey, of course, on 18 and at the end, but he does something that basically nobody expected him to do, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And it got really dicey on Saturday when he gave up a 6-shot lead and brought everybody else into the tournament. And of course, I'm sitting here with a ticket on Cam Young and Justin Rose, and Rose had a 2-shot lead heading into the second 9 on Sunday. But it actually ended, I thought, a little bit anticlimactic. Nobody really challenged him on the backside on Sunday. He was kind of given a free pass. Cam Young parred every hole. Justin Rose had it on the par 5 13th and in 2, putting for eagle and 3 putts for a par. And like you say, made it a little bit interesting there on the 18th hole. Scotty Scheffler made a charge. And, we never really celebrate the sports books, but they beat us good in getting Rory home with a winner because, like you said, nobody bet on this guy to repeat. And so the sports books made out pretty well with the Masters result.
I just saw the announcement, another hotel being built by you in Las Vegas after the match.
With a few of my dollars.
Yes, definitely, all of ours, definitely. All right, so Scotty finished second. And yes, talking with Brady last week, Rose, Young, those were popular picks. And certainly they finished top 10 and top 20, but they did not end up taking it home. But yes, congratulations to Rory McIlroy, and certainly a well-deserved week off. But the show goes on, Brady, as they say this week. The tour heads to Hilton Head, South Carolina. It was a little unclear as to whether or not Scotty Scheffler was going to play in the RBC Heritage, but he announced that he will play this week. So naturally, he is going to be the overwhelming favorite. And always a very compelling tournament, usually down to the end, especially when they get the big names back, and some of them are indeed playing this week.
Yeah, I love this tournament, Craig. You go from the green jacket to the tartan plaid coat. I wore my tartan plaid, red jacket here. I've actually played Harbor Town before. And it's just this wonderful, like, semi-vacation after the big to-do and the hoopla surrounding the Masters. Go down to the low country, chill out. And a few years ago, this tournament got a real shot in the arm when they made it a signature event. So now you've got all the best players here as well. Great golf course, great tournament. It's a really good 2-week stretch. And I think the perfect fit for after the Masters. Scotty, one of the only guys, if maybe the only guy, that when he won the Masters a couple of years ago, went on and won the Heritage as well. So he's done extremely well here in the past. And what's interesting, Craig, is it's like a polar opposite of the Masters. The Augusta National is just this massive, huge property, and Hilton Head is this little tiny, compact, claustrophobic coastal design, accuracy-based, that type of thing. And the Masters is such a big boy track, but I love this course, and we'll see if we can. We had a good Masters. We got a lot of top 20s. We did well on our matchups. We just couldn't hit the outright. We'll see if we can get it this week.
All right, so who do you like this week with Xander 15-1, Fitzpatrick 16-1? A lot of bunched up players after Scotty at 4-1 or 4.5-1.
Yeah. My friends at BetMGM, I got a note this morning. Almost 50% of the tickets are on Scotty Scheffler to win this golf tournament, or maybe it's Handle. Just getting overwhelming support at BetMGM. I did not land on him. One thing that is similar about Hilton Head to the Masters is the stickiness. Guys that play well here typically do so year in and year out. Patrick Cantlay is an absolute machine here. I took Cantlay. I took Russell Henley, who had a great Masters. And then I took 3 guys who missed the cut at Augusta. Maybe an extra couple days off will give them the rest that they need. And that was Akshay Bhatia, Daniel Berger, and Robert McIntyre. So McIntyre, Berger, Bhatia, Henley, and Cantlay at Hilton Head.
Right. Really good stuff as always, Brady. We'll see what happens this week. And naturally, our next destination as we close in will be the U.S. Open. So looking forward to discussing that with you as we pursue the summer of golf. Thanks again, Brady. Really appreciate it.
You bet it. Have a great weekend.
All right, Brady Cannon here with us. Coming up next, we've got Sam McQuillan in the house. The state of Kentucky tried to get kids to not be able to bet on sports at the age of 18. It looks like that's going to continue. For those people who use YouTube, there's a new feature that is powered by AI. And what is this exactly, Simon?
So let's say you're watching Yankees highlights, and you can say, YouTube, when is the next game at Yankee Stadium? You see that information on the screen. How much is the cost? What seats are available? You see that information on the screen. All right, call the Yankee Stadium box office. I want to make a reservation for 2 tickets.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Process is closed. Let's call it out for this, right? And is it their fault? You could argue, they've been just besieged and Embiid, but it just continues, Kevin, right? As soon as he's like, don't worry about my health, and then here we are, right? I would have traded him a couple of years ago. I would have gotten ahead of the curve, Kevin.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
At the end of the day, LeBron's going to have to put that team on his back. Can he do it? I don't know if he could do it for a 7-game series. Can he give you like 2, oh my goodness, LeBron at 31? Yeah, I think he can give you a couple of those games. But it's about the other guys that have to step up.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You build teams in the second, third, and fourth round, right, Donnie? Yeah. That's where you build. That's where you get the depth. That's where you build the team. So teams looking for draft capital very much could be alive and well in this draft coming up because there's just nobody to mortgage the future for because you need your franchise guy. They're just not in this draft.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on Sports Grid. We've got Sam McQuillan in the house from Legal Sports Report to touch on a number of stories that you can also read about over at LegalSportsReport.com. So let's bring Sam in and touch on those topics, one of which is a little bit of a surprise, I must say. The state of Kentucky, I thought, was going to raise the low age of sports betting from 18 to a minimum of 21. But, Sam, they decided against this, and I wonder why. So you tell us.
Yeah, so the Kentucky House and Senate passed this bill that would have raised the age from 18 to 21 to bet in the state. That's what most states have. That's also trying to keep in line with what prediction markets are doing. Not only would it have raised that minimum betting age, it also would have banned player props on in-state college teams, and it would have mandated that all daily fantasy sports is done peer-to-peer as opposed to player versus house contests, which we've seen in the past. So the legislature passed it, but Governor Andy Beshear actually vetoed it. So the big question is, why would he do that? It seems like a lot of these changes are not big, major changes that would impact the industry that much. The reason that he gave is because the bill also would have allowed the Kentucky Lottery and the Kentucky Gaming Commission to effectively make new rules and regulations for the industry without his consent. They could propose these emergency clauses where they could change, anything from what sports books are allowed to offer, or a whole host of regulations that sports books have to adhere to. He said, frankly, he doesn't want to be left out of the process. He doesn't think that's how it should go. So what happens now is the bill is back in the legislature. They have about until tomorrow to potentially override his veto and pass it on a majority vote, which, again, to try to potentially either change the bill so he does have that power, or just to cut him out completely if they pass it and override his veto. So these changes are very much still in play. The legislature has overridden a lot of Beshear's vetoes in the past, so it has the votes. One interesting part I want to mention on this too is that the bill also would make it for companies that are licensed in the state to do sports betting not able to offer prediction markets in Kentucky. A previous version would have made it, if you have a prediction market anywhere in the country at all, you would lose your Kentucky sports betting license. FanDuel, DraftKings, and the other sports books that are doing prediction markets came back to the legislature and said that will probably cost you about $40 million in tax revenue. So they removed that provision notably, but changes could still be made before the final vote tomorrow. But I would expect this bill to probably go ahead kind of as intended, even despite the governor's pushback.
Well, we'll see what happens in Kentucky. We'll move from Kentucky to, believe it or not, the first quarter of 2026 coming to a close. My gosh, the years just go by. The time goes by so fast. Sam, some numbers coming in from Wall Street on some of the companies that provide sports betting options, and how did they do in the first?
Yeah, so the story for these major sports betting companies like DraftKings and FanDuel over the past year really has been their stocks falling like just a ton, getting really hit hard. Both are down about 40%. Wall Street right now is not predicting that will really change when we get these first quarter results in a few weeks. And a lot of that, while there is a lot of anxiety out there from investors around prediction markets, a lot of that is tied to the overall betting volume and growth in betting. For years we've seen sports books like DraftKings and FanDuel post double-digit handle growth year over year, the total amount of dollars wagered at their sports books. But in December, it actually was negative for the first time ever. And now Wall Street is predicting that the first quarter was probably more of the same, with a handle down roughly about 2% year over year. So that's a big change from years past when handle was growing 20%, 15% every quarter. Now it's actually going to be down for the first big quarter to start the year. Now, a lot of that is actually about the results of sports itself and the comparisons to last year. Last year we talked a lot about, Craig, the NFL especially, how famously sports books got hit like they'd never been hit before, how that rolled over into March Madness when favorites won at an unprecedented rate. So for sports books last year, they were getting really hit hard in revenue, but because bettors were winning so much, they were actually betting a lot more and handle was up. This year, it's been a little bit of the opposite. Sportsbooks did much, much better on the NFL season in terms of winning the amount of bets they took and keeping the money. And it looks to kind of be the same with March Madness as well. But in turn, when you have players losing more, sportsbooks are saying, people aren't betting as much, so it makes it more difficult for us to kind of stay on track. So it's kind of an interesting story along with this prediction market stuff, which some people believe could be taking away businesses from these sports books. Although Wall Street seems to think that that's the handle drop is more about the tougher comparisons with last year. And it will be really interesting heading into the World Cup, especially summer, which is going to be a huge opportunity for these companies to not only attract more customers, but to also push the handle growth in the opposite direction. It's going to be an estimated $1.8 billion bet on the World Cup, which is basically another Super Bowl for these companies. So they'll be hoping the U.S. men's national team makes a big run. People bet on that a lot in the U.S., but in turn, if the men's national team does really well, that could also impact margins. So it's always tricky to balance risk-wise, but pretty interesting that the most recent results are kind of dragging these handle numbers for the sports books, despite them kind of doing well overall in terms of betting.
Finally, Sam, let's get to BetMGM. They're reporting numbers in the first quarter, seemingly indicating that the struggles could be partially due to prediction markets coming on the scene. Does that seem accurate?
Yeah, definitely. BetMGM, interestingly enough, because they're owned by MGM, a casino company, they have not been one of those companies like FanDuel and DraftKings that wants to do its own prediction markets. Because they're owned by the casino company, the casinos are really against prediction markets, so it has not launched its own product. And while BetMGM, as well as DraftKings and FanDuel, have been vocal about prediction markets not necessarily stealing high-value customers from them, what BetMGM did come out and say this week is, with the emergence of these prediction markets, which have essentially acted as new sports books and intensified the competition in the marketplace, they're essentially wrestling with more marketing spend from competitors. It's driven up the amount of promo cost and advertising cost in the space in general, especially when these companies like Kalshi and Polymarket aren't paying the same fees and taxes. But MGM says that's actually made it a lot harder to compete marketing-wise, which is one of the reasons that it's trimming its profit and revenue goals for the rest of the year just a little bit as it kind of refocuses marketing. BetMGM notably has been really kind of focused on shifting away from sports betting as its big driver to more online casino, where it thinks it has an advantage with the brand, which means more marketing if you're in a state like Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, where BetMGM is legal with online casino. You might see more promos and dollars spent on sports betting there, just because those states also have that other key core product, which is how BetMGM is going to try to be more efficient. So pretty interesting to hear that prediction markets might not necessarily be taking customers away, but they are definitely changing the competitive dynamics among the largest sports betting operators, and in turn that trickles down to the customer eventually in some way. BetMGM is going to be hoping that eventually the Supreme Court rules against these prediction markets, but in the meantime, they're focused on kind of redistributing these marketing dollars and having a better Q1 and Q2 coming ahead.
Sam, as always, great contribution to the show. We'll read more about everything we discussed over at LegalSportsReport.com. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, Sam McQuillan with us. We'll check in on all the financials for all of the different sports books and operators and see how they did in quarter one with Sam. And again, check out LegalSportsReport.com for the very latest on that as well. All right, we got to take a quick time out here on NewsWire. When we come back, it's time to dive into the Masters to find out how many folks were streaming and watching this weekend. And for more on all of our shows, including some sports betting options and predictions, you can also download the SportsGrid app. It's available for iOS and Android. The SportsGrid app is available right now, so make sure you take out your phone and scan that QR code, and you can download it at will. The SportsGrid app available right now, streaming our shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We'll take a quick time out. Coming up next, it is Simon Applebaum from the podcast Tomorrow Will Be Televised. We'll be right back. Don't go away. those people who use YouTube, there's a new feature that is powered by AI. And what is this exactly, Simon?
So let's say you're watching Yankees highlights, and you can say, YouTube, when is the next game at Yankee Stadium? You see that information on the screen. How much is the cost? What seats are available? You see that information on the screen. All right, call the Yankee Stadium box office. I want to make a reservation for 2 tickets.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
The process is closed. Let's call it out for this, right? And is it their fault? You could, they've been just besieged and Embiid, but it just continues, Kevin, right? As soon as he's like, don't worry about my health, and and then here we are, right? I would have traded him a couple of years ago. I would have gotten ahead of the curve, Kevin.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
At the end of the day, LeBron's going to have to put that team on his back. Can he do it? I don't know if he could do it for a 7-game series. Can he give you like 2, oh my goodness, LeBron at 31? Yeah, I think he can give you a couple of those games. But it's about the other guys that have to step up.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You build teams in the second, third, and fourth round, right, Donnie? Yeah. That's where you build. That's where you get the depth. That's where you build the team. So teams looking for draft capital very much could be alive and well in this draft coming up because there's just nobody to mortgage the future for because you need your franchise guy. They're just not in this draft.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Always great to catch up with Simon Applebaum from the podcast. Tomorrow will be televised, and certainly we have a lot to review, including the Masters this weekend. Simon, thanks for coming back here on the show. Always appreciate the contribution. Bottom line here is Rory McIlroy wins the Masters. Back-to-back green jackets. It almost never happens. Were fans and streaming and watching and interested in this feat that basically almost never gets accomplished?
You better believe it, Craig. Great to be back with you. In fact, it looks like Rory McIlroy and Scotty Scheffler have replaced Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson as must-see golf TV. 14 million people, on average, watch the Masters on Sunday on CBS. That's not including Paramount Plus. It's up 8% from last year, and it just about tied what was probably the best Masters Sunday performance. That was in 2015 when Jordan Spieth won it. But here's the other thing. 20 million people were probably watching when the final half hour of the Masters was on, when Rory finally won it with the, even though he had to make 2 putts on the 18th hole. I'll tell you this, considering the fact that the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship on TBS was 18 million people watching that game in prime time, and the Masters could do what it did on Sunday, very close to it. That is really something special. And I think CBS and Paramount Plus and the Augusta National Golf Club are very happy. Also, the Saturday round had about 8 million people watching. That's up 15% from the third round a year ago. 4 takeaways. Number 1, like I said, Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler have replaced Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson on must-see TV, certainly on major golf championship coverage. Number 2, Andrew Catalon may have cemented his new role, upcoming role, as taking over for Jim Nantz as the 18th hole PGA Golf Tour host. Whenever Jim Nantz wants to hang it up, he was wonderful, by the way, throughout the tournament this past weekend. I think Catalan, with his mix of gravitas and enthusiasm, is going to take over that role. Number 3, a lot of golf fans were very upset with CBS on 2 counts. 1, not showing what was live from what was on tape. And by the way, this is something that all the people who run golf coverage should really watch out for. There's a more sensitivity among golf fans, purist golf fans, about that. Also, CBS had this issue with the 18th hole at the very end when the second shots of both McIlroy and Cameron Young, you didn't know where they were. And there was also that bad, crazy shot of McElroy at the end with the putt. You couldn't see the putt go into the hole to win it all. Number 3, so that's number 3. And number 4, ESPN may have been put on notice for how it handled the par 3 tournament by having Kevin Hart and other celebrities get involved in the tournament. Fred Ridley, the head of the Augusta National Golf Club, during his annual press conference, basically sort of said, well, we know we're trying to increase the fan base, bring new viewers in to watch golf on a regular basis, and we got to maybe do something different. I think his sort of side hint to ESPN was, and it was something that Terry Ringo did on his podcast as well, is ESPN, if you want to keep presenting our coverage of the first and second round, you got to get your act together with something like the par 3 tournament. Otherwise, you may lose it to somebody like Prime Video, which did a good first and second round coverage from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. They may be in the hunt starting next year. Don't forget, the Masters has 1-year renewal deals with whoever covers them, CBS, as well as ESPN and Prime Video. So Prime Video, if ESPN doesn't get its act together, you remember the Augusta National Golf Club gets very insensitive at things like this. Prime Video may be the recipient of more golf coverage of the Masters starting next year.
All right, so let's get back to TV here for a minute and streaming, because I think this is one that really seems to be gaining a lot of steam, Simon, which is the antitrust exemption potentially involving the National Football League. So many fans of the league are just simply used to watching the networks and watching football games. Now, we know that that has changed through the years, but is it coming to the point where the government is stepping in and saying, hey, enough is enough, let fans have their football?
They could. And what both Congress and regulators like the Federal Communications Commission are concerned about is the NFL renegotiating their contracts with NBC, with ABC, ESPN, Fox, and CBS. What they're all concerned about is because you're seeing more games go on Peacock, more games go on Netflix, more games go on Amazon Prime Video, the YouTube having the international game, the second game of the season last year. They are concerned that with this renegotiation, if any of the broadcast networks involved balk, that you could see, let's say, NBC lose Sunday Night Football to a YouTube, to a Netflix, to a Prime Video, which already has Thursday Night Football. They could see CBS lose its Sunday afternoon game package to Prime Video. There's also been some reporting that Amazon has already approached the NFL with, get this, a proposal to run the Super Bowl and not have it on broadcast television or cable TV. So there's a lot of concern in the halls of Congress, in the halls of federal regulators like the FCC about what the NFL does from here. And what they're threatening the NFL to do is, hey, if you put more games off broadcast TV, off cable TV, go on mega content services or multi-channel bundles like Netflix, like the Roku channel, or like Tubi or YouTube, that you're going to see an antitrust exception go out the window.
Finally, Simon, let's get to the final game called by someone who's been doing it at a very high level for a long time. Mark Jones, who's been part of basketball coverage since the early 90s at ESPN, announced that he will not be returning for next season.
That's right. After 30-something years at ABC and at ESPN, doing everything from Wide World of Sports to anchoring SportsCenter to college football to college basketball, Mark Jones is hanging it up, at least for the moment, nationally. We understand that he will still be the play-by-play voice regionally for the Sacramento Kings. Mark has had the durability he has because, number one, he's versatile. He can do anything from college football to college basketball to Olympic sports to doing anchoring SportsCenter. He has great partners that he's worked with, like Doris Burke on NBA basketball, like Roddy Jones the last 2 years on college football. And he brings both gravitas and joy and enthusiasm to any assignment he has. So I'm sorry that he's leaving for now, but I think he will come back somewhere nationally in the future. One other thing about golf, as we speak, the Live Golf Management is here in Manhattan. We believe that they are going to have a meeting either today or tomorrow to find out what the future of their league is going to be. And there's already reporting that the announcement they're going to get in this meeting is Live Golf is kaput. The question is, will it be the pull be pulled before their latest tournament this weekend in Mexico City, after the tournament, or they'll finish the season, then pull the plug?
A monster story, of course, with all of those players then trying to get back to the PGA Tour. Okay, Simon, we'll keep an eye on that and a whole lot more. Thanks for coming on NewsWire. We'll talk again next week.
You're welcome, Craig. Take care.
All right, Simon Applebaum joining us. Coming up next, we'll see if LaMelo Ball is even available for the Charlotte Hornets' next game. We'll hear from him next on NewsWire. Don't go away. All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Still awaiting word from the National Basketball Association if there will be any suspension at all for LaMelo Ball, who had appeared to grab Bam Adebayo by the leg yesterday. Adebayo fell and missed the remainder of the game. Let's get the very latest on this and hear from head coach Eric Spoelstra and LaMelo Ball after the game on the incident that inevitably cost Adebayo the entire second half of the game against the Heat.
I didn't see it, but I don't think it's cute. I don't think it's funny. I think it's a stupid play. It's a dangerous play. Obviously, our best player is out. I'm not making an excuse. The Hornets played great, and they made those plays down the stretch. We had our opportunities to win. I just, that's a shame. He should be penalized for that. I don't think that belongs in the game. Tripping guys, shenanigans, and Curtis was there. It's his responsibility to see that, and if it's not his responsibility, then Zach's got to see it. If somebody has got to see that, and that he should have been thrown out of the game, for that.
I apologize on that one. I mean, I got hit in the head, didn't really know where I was, but I'm gonna check on him and see if he's okay and everything.
LaMelo, it kind of looked like on film that you might have grabbed his leg. I mean, did you intentionally grab his leg?
I haven't even seen. Like I said, I got hit in the head, didn't even know where I was, but yeah, just playing basketball. But like I said, sorry, and I'm gonna check on him.
All right, so Charlotte will see if they have to continue on with or without LaMelo Ball. Meanwhile, the New Jersey Transit makes a big announcement ahead of the World Cup. Are you ready to fork out $100 to get to the World Cup? You live in New York. That is kind of crazy, but that and a whole lot more as we wrap up this edition of the show with some last licks. All right, so here we go. If you want to go to the World Cup, get ready, folks, to take the New Jersey Transit. You can go, but it ain't going to cost you like $5 to get to the Meadowlands this year. If you're going to New Jersey to see the FIFA World Cup game, yep, New York Penn Station to MetLife, $100. $100 to take the train. According to people familiar, this is according to The Athletic, with the plans to remain anonymous, a return ticket purchased on the New Jersey transportation provider is modeled for a 7-time increase for usual prices. It's an 18-mile trip. It usually costs $12, but in this case, it will cost $100. We're also getting word, by the way, for those folks who are going to the World Cup and are going to go to the Meadowlands or here in South Florida or anywhere else, that they are not going to allow tailgating for the World Cup. I guess they do not tailgate normally for this. Very bizarre stories coming out of this, but not surprised. Ticket prices are up, parking is up, and naturally it's going to cost you $100 just to take the train. A $12 train, $100. Like it enough too. Okay, so be it. All right, historic first inning in college baseball last night. How about this? First inning, Lehigh taking on Coppin State. I know you were all watching this at home. This was a first inning of 20 runs scored. That's the all-time record for a game. 20 runs scored in the first inning for Lehigh against Coppin State. They ended up scoring 38 runs in the game. And needless to say, there were a lot of hit by pitches and walks. Hit by pitch, walk, hit by pitch, double, hit by pitch, walk, hit by pitch, walk, hit by... I mean, my gosh. Get some new pitchers, Coppin State. Please, stop hitting kids on the other side. Either way, 20 runs, that's the all-time record for a first inning in college baseball. I would guess that'll be broken at some point again. Hitting 6 guys in one inning is never a good. All right, finally, Rick Bowness. He is the head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. There's some discussion as to whether or not he will be back with the Blue Jackets next season, but he was fantastic in his first 24 games, 18-2-4, finished 3-9-1 as their season came to a close, and Bowness was not shy about his disappointment in his team after they lost to the Capitals last night 2-1.
Have you ever been part of something that's as frustrating as this has been down the stretch?
No. And you know what? All you got to do is look at the stat sheet. 3 hits, 23 giveaways. Like, I don't know if I'm back, but if I'm back, I'm changing this culture. These guys, they don't care Losing is not important enough to them. It doesn't bother them. Like, how can you go out and play like that? Should have done this about a month ago. But this is why we are where we are. This is why we're out of the playoffs. That kind of effort.
I don't know if Bonus is going to be back, but he gave a good press conference. If not, that'll do it for the show today. Thanks again to Tommy for directing, Frank on the graphics, and Chris for producing. I'm Craig Mish. Enjoy the rest of your day and evening. We'll see you back tomorrow for our next edition of NewsWire. Have a great one, everyone.